Support for WCBU's On Deck comes from Jaguar Land Rover Peoria on Allen Road. Special offers available on nearly every new Jaguar with personalized service throughout purchasing and ownership. Jaguar, a proud luxury and performance brand. More at jaguarlandroverpeoria.com.
An Illinois Republican representative says the death of a Hamas leader is justified. That's just one of the things you'll want to hear about to start your day for Tuesday, August 6th. I'm Colin Shope, and this is WCBU's On Deck. First on deck today, the traditional model of Illinois political blocs, Chicago, the suburbs, and downstate Illinois, isn't accurate anymore. That's according to the lead author of the new edition of the book Illinois Politics, A Citizen's Guide to Power, Politics, and Government. College of DuPage professor Melissa Moritzen says it's now Chicago and Cook County, the collar counties, and downstate. She says that's because lawmakers from suburbs like Berwyn and Cicero have a lot more in common with those in Chicago than they do with, say, Naperville.
The relationships are still dynamic, but the things, right, that they're asking for or working toward are more similar.
Moritzen says increasing diversity in Illinois also plays a role, citing significant growth in the number of Asian and Latino residents.
And so that's caused a change within the party itself, which isn't always the same as the change that's happening with the party at the national level, right? What Democrats are arguing about in Kansas is not the same thing as what Democrats are arguing about here in Illinois, right?
Moritzen says the rise in diversity has also increased political polarization in Illinois. The book is out on the University of Illinois Press this week. It's the first new edition in 15 years. Reporting for this story comes from Charlie Schlenker. Here's some other stories we're following in the WCBU newsroom. Leftover savings in an Illinois 529 college savings account can now be rolled over into a parent's retirement plan. And a court-appointed receiver will now manage the Courtyard Estates assisted living facility, effective immediately. Plus, a woman has died following a house fire in Marquette Heights. You can find more of these stories and all the details at WCBU.org. Despite the difficulties the killing of the top political leader of the Hamas organization creates in achieving a ceasefire in Gaza, a Central Illinois congressman says the death is justified. Ismail Haniyeh has been killed in Iran. Israel has remained silent about the incident, but Iran has blamed Israel for the attack. Peoria area Republican Representative Darren LaHood is on the House Intelligence Committee. In this interview with Charlie Schlenker, LaHood says the death needed to happen.
Haniyeh has blood on his hands. He's been involved with almost every terrorist attack on Israel and many involving the United States over the last 20 plus years. And so he is a terrorist. He needed to be taken out. The timing on these type of things are never good, but he is somebody that unfortunately deserved this type of action. I would also say Israel also took out one of the senior leaders of Hezbollah in Beirut yesterday, a guy named Shakur. Again, these are terrorist actors who have been involved with lots of different killings of civilians. And obviously Haniyeh was involved with the attack on October 7th on Israel that killed 1,200 people.
It still complicates ceasefire talks. How do you get around that?
No doubt about it. Our number one goal should be getting all of the hostages back. It should be working towards a ceasefire. And I commend countries like Egypt and Qatar and the United States for trying to reach that resolution. But in many ways, Hamas could have ended this a long time ago by releasing the hostages and agreeing to the terms to do that through a ceasefire. It's more complicated than folks think. Israel is our number one ally in the Middle East. It is a democracy. I don't always agree with everything they do, but when you get a chance to take out the number one leader, I think you have to do that.
Similar things have happened over the last 10 months, and the region has avoided a multi-front war. Can that continue to happen?
I look at Iran as really being involved with a lot of malign activities throughout the Middle East. If you look at their support for the Houthis in Yemen, you look at their direct support of Hamas in Gaza, you look at their support of Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, and of course the Shia proxies in Iraq. They have a number of mullahs that rule Iran with a religious bent to them, and they want to wipe the U.S. and Israel off the face of the earth. So when you're facing an existential threat like that and an adversary like that, we do not want an all-out war in the Middle East, and we should do everything to avoid that. However, when you have an adversary like Iran that continues to engage in terrorist activity throughout the Middle East against U.S. interests, you have to fight fire with fire.
You and Democratic Representative Danny Davis have introduced a measure called the Strengthening Families Act. It would reauthorize Title IV-B child welfare programs and change some of them. What needed an overhaul?
We are the top Republican and Democrat on the Work and Welfare Subcommittee or the Ways and Means Committee. We put together a bill that had been in the works for about a year to figure out how we reauthorize the code that looks at helping children that are caught in the foster care system that in many ways don't have any other place to go. And so we came up with 16 different proposals. We increased some funding, but secondarily, we make it more efficient, more effective, more accountable to help kids to be successful in life.
In what way are efficiencies introduced and programs made more
For instance,
effective?
In many respects, we would give, in the past, a block of money to states and let them do what they did. But there would be restrictions on that money, on how it could be spent, where it could go, what could be done. What we did is we reached out to the states. We had 3 separate hearings over the last year. We brought in subject matter experts that worked in the foster care system, worked with children in the different states, and we got different ideas on how, instead of doing it by block grant, how do we give them flexibility and the ability to use that money in different ways.
That's Congressman Darren LaHood, who represents a large part of the Peoria area. He spoke with Charlie Schlenker. Now, before we let you go, tonight is a regular meeting of the East Peoria City Council. Those meetings start at 6 p.m. in council chambers on West Washington Street, and more pieces of the project to construct a new police station are on the agenda. And that's all for today. You can subscribe to WCBU's On Deck podcast on the NPR app, Apple, Spotify, or YouTube Music.